I slept that night with a gun in my bed. And I thought, this is no way to live. But to have a foundation of gold and silver is kind of critical because this is recognizably barterable.
Do you believe you'll be needing your PREP insurance before this decade is done? Hey everyone, welcome to Yankee Stacking. In the third and final part of my interview with Lynette Zang, we discuss how to prepare for the economic collapse that is on a collision course with the United States. Prepping with silver and gold is super important. You have to stack them, but they're not the only things you need. And Lynette does a masterful job telling us the 8 essential preps that we have to have. By the way, if you haven't watched part 1 or 2, the links to those videos are in the description of this one. Go back, watch them first, and then finish up with this powerful video. And if you get value out of these, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If it really makes you think, share it with others. You're a prepper, Lynette. You're a really good prepper.
I've been working.
Yeah.
When I saw the system die in 2008, I had a little 2-bedroom condo, 1,200 square feet that I could just turn around, lock the door, and walk away. And I was actually getting ready to retire. And I was gonna, travel, go someplace, stay for like 3 months, rent a house, rent a villa, so my family could come, do some art, do some cooking, and have a nice rest of my life.
Have a nice life, right?
Right. And then 2008 happened. And I went, holy crap, that's the end. I knew 100% that the system died.
We crossed the Rubicon. There was no turning back.
No turning back.
I agree.
It was the end. Mm-hmm. And it just went on life support. So instead of retiring to that very comfortable life, and I am not a gardener or a farmer by nature, but I knew that food becomes the single biggest issue for people as we go through these transitions. Right. And I adore my family. So I bought a 1/2 acre, not in an association, and I started to learn how to farm and dig up the lawn, and I converted this entire property into a food forest. So I had, in fact, this year, planted them in 2013. This year is the first year I'm going to have pistachios.
Oh, wonderful.
So excited.
Wow.
I know.
That's great.
And then March of 2020 hit. I mean, I had to learn a lot. My neighbors were my neighbors were very unhappy with me for a very long time because this property looked like crap. But they have all subsequently told me, or many of them have, that they really appreciate the fact that I never gave up. Because now it's quite beautiful and it's producing lots of fruit. I just had some star fruit here earlier. But then March and April of 2020 hit. And there were riots not too far from where I live. And I live in a nice area. And not too far from where my daughters live. And they live in a nice area. And I thought, aha, there's the hole in my strategy. Because I slept that night with a gun in my bed. And I thought, this is no way to live. So that's when I went out, and it took a while to find the right piece. But I now have 41 acres on the top of a mountain in a very remote location. I go through a lot of tires, and we keep a lot of tires up there. But we are finishing up hot houses. Everything I'm doing up there is to prepare for a community of 40. And we have doctors, we have teachers, we have farmers, we have carpenters, we have electricians, so et cetera. So the community up there brings with them different skill sets to support everybody.
If you doubt the need to prep. Where were you during this pandemic? Where were you during the supply chain shortages? Where were you at the grocery store? This is the time for people. That was a shot over the bow. This is the time for people to get their act together. Stop thinking that you're going to get rescued from some amorphous government in the sky. It's not going to happen.
No, and it's not happening. And there's lots of evidence of that on a global basis, because the food insecurity, it is. And I have a mantra, which is food, water, energy security, barterability, wealth preservation, community, and shelter.
Beautiful
and
list.
That is my standard list. And that's the way when people go, well, this is overwhelming. Well, you take the mantra, and this is how I did it. And I said, okay, where do I feel the most vulnerable? And then I would go and work in that area. And then I would step back and I'd say, okay, now where do I feel the most vulnerable? And that's how I did it. I bought this property in 2010. So the community part of it, first of all, I would say that to have a foundation of gold and silver is kind of critical, because this is recognizably barterable.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a prepper stacker, and as a prepper stacker, I look primarily at silver as barter material. That is the reason I have it, right? I
agree.
You know, gold less so. This to me is more of a long-term post SHTF wealth preservation, carrying your wealth through it, maybe to barter, but definitely silver. What do you think of that?
Definitely silver. I agree with you 100%. Silver is my barterable position. And what people should also understand, this is a sterling silver chopstick, okay? Gold and silver in any form, you always see me wearing a lot of jewelry, right? Gold and silver in any form is monetary at its base. If I needed to cut a piece of this chopstick, you think I would hesitate to do it? No. So it doesn't matter if you have Aunt Bessie's old salt and pepper shakers and they're tarnished and they're bent and they're broken. It doesn't matter. But yes, I agree with you 100% that silver is my barterable position, and I like a variety of sizes. And it's only because, hey, I have strawberries here. Well, maybe somebody has blueberries and I want those blueberries, but they're allergic to my strawberries. So now I have to go find something else that they would accept. It's just more complicated to barter. All of that is barterable.
In fact, it probably will be bartered first. I tell people this too as well. You need those supplies, food and so forth. But I use the hammer and the chicken. You know, I want a chicken, but I got to find, and I have a hammer. I have to find somebody who has a chicken who wants a hammer, just like what you're saying. But when you have a currency that is real money that can be actually used as a proxy, this is money, right? So this is where it will eventually end up. Worst case scenario, again, we all pray and hope we don't need to use our wealth insurance ever, just like we hope we don't ever need to use our car insurance or our homeowners insurance. We don't want to use it, but you better have it.
100%. And the gold, I've done so many studies of hyperinflation and what happens to both gold and silver during these periods of time. And so I know a lot of people, you know, are thinking about that gold silver ratio. And the reality is, presuming a repetition of history, which has a tendency to do, you will see that narrow. But then when you get toward the end of this phase, then gold always takes off, because that's how they do the overnight resets. It's the primary currency metal. So it can protect and does protect whatever fiat money assets you might not be able to liquidate, like a 403B. You're still working there. You're not having access to it, right? So a truly diversified portfolio does this, but it also puts you in a position where you have retained your purchasing power. So right now, income producing assets are severely overvalued, like real estate, right? Severely overvalued, where you have gold severely undervalued. That's going to flip-flop. So historically, about 25 ounces of gold could buy an entire city block, buildings and all, during these hyperinflationary transitions. So doom and gloom? No. But if you look at how wealth never disappears, it just shifts location.
Right.
So if you have this, you have the wealth shift your way. It's that simple.
I know a lot of people actually that stack silver hoping to exchange it to gold when that GSR comes back. Yeah, that's my question. Under normal circumstances, in a normal when things are still functioning correctly and there's still a local coin shop deal you can go into and you might be able to do that. In a collapse scenario, when all currency trust is lost, I'm concerned that there's going to be a lot of people saying, I want to convert this into this, and there is none of this. It's gone.
Exactly. I mean, it's different things for different functions, and it used to be so easy to get like junk silver or even, junk foreign coins, small little fractional ones. Can you get them anymore?
It's a lot harder. A lot harder. And it costs a lot more.
Yes, it does. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that is such an accurate statement. You just can't count on that. So just build your position the way you need to build your position.
Buy what you're after and keep it. It's a lot of times too, when they play the GSR, they're doing it. They have to do it with dollars. You lose in that transaction with the premiums.
What are you going to do? Look, silver could go to $600. It could go to $20,000 an ounce. What are you going to convert it into? Those $20,000 that have absolutely zero value. Look at Zimbabwe, right? Zimbabwe, they have billionaires that can't afford eggs. And they recently came out with a 1 ounce gold coin to help preserve your purchasing power. Who can afford that? Just the wealthy. The public? No, they can't afford it. They're lucky if they're able-bodied enough to go out and pant for the gold to feed their families. So, yes, a really, really valid point.
Gold is the money of kings. Silver is the money of gentlemen. Barter is the money of peasants. But debt is the money of slaves. Guys, I think that was Norm Franz. I think J.P. Morgan said gold is money. Everything else is credit, right?
Yep.
So I got to ask you one last prepping question. Give me your frank assessment, Lynette. I really want to know, do you believe you'll be needing your PREP insurance before this decade is done?
Yeah, I do. And that's why I've been rushing to put it together. I mean, I moved ahead a lot of things to make sure. And right now, even as I sit right now, because I've got a lot of long storage food, but we're about to start planting out kitchen garden beds. So that piece is already done, and they're working on the orchards right now. So I've got a lot of fruit, berry trees and nut trees going in. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Unfortunately, I do.
I tell people, if it's at all possible, to have a 1 year supply of food for your family, 1 year supply of gold and silver for your expenses, the annual expense amount. And I even tell them to have a hefty amount of cash as a short-term prep.
And I would say a year is too short.
For what?
All of my prepping to just have the gold and the silver back for a year.
That's too short.
I've planned everything for 10 years.
Oh my goodness.
This is a global reset. This is like the Industrial Revolution. It's the financial digital revolution. So yeah, a year.
Maybe, but though it's 10 years for a community, maybe the community can help in that regard, because wow, Lynette, that's overwhelming. I think people listening right now are going to go, wait, what? I can't do that. And
sorry,
I know. No, we need to work towards it. But again, I'm thinking maybe the community piece of it can help. If somebody is strong in certain areas and can help, you have, because it's too much for one person to do. Yeah,
it is. I mean, it really is. That's why I said, arguably, for me, community is the most important part because one person cannot do it all. And so, yes, exactly. Maybe now you have to understand, I never do anything in a small way. So, I'm doing it for 40 people. But generally speaking, for most people, maybe somebody's strong in the food, right? But they're weak over here. But you have that skill set. You have that stash put aside. So that's why, I execute the mantra. And that's why I'm here, to be honest with you, Yankee, because this is community to me, right? There's all different kinds of community. And, we have a website. It's called Beyond Gold and Silver, which is food, water, energy. So it's all those pieces. And what we do on there is we try and meet you where you are. So if you've never gardened before, like there was an image that came up the other day, and I was so happy because I have Lindsay. She's my farmer. She has her degree in agriculture, so she's really good, and she manages the farm here. And somebody said, look at my very first tomato that I ever grew. Thank you, Lindsay. So it goes into all those different areas. And if this is brand new to you, okay, there we are. If you're advanced in it, well, there you are. So we try and help people with that prepping. And also there's so many different ways that you can create that community. There are community gardens. There are meetup groups.
I put together a YouTube playlist a while ago called Prepping the Yankee Way Community. I have not done a video on that, but that is so important. I'm working on that right now through my church and others that I trust to build that. I don't have the location that you're talking about up on the top of a mountain. That sounds really cool. But even in a suburban environment.
Start with your neighbors, because you're the guys that can come together when there's something like there was not that far from where I lived, the riots, right? We can come together because there is strength in numbers.
I will include that link that you mentioned in the description of
Beyond
this video.
Gold and Silver?
Yeah, Beyond Gold and Silver. Thank you for that.
Yeah, because, people will say to me all the time, well, you can't eat gold and you can't eat silver. No, you can barter for something that you can eat. And are you eating this? No. And are you eating this? Totally no. So at least you get some fiber in this crap.
Oh, man, Lynette, this has been so much fun. Thank you for being here with me. We're going to do this again. We have to do this again.
This is fun.
Yes, thank you. And thanks for watching, everyone.